Well, everyone, it's been a month. Sorry. All I can say is work got busy. But thank you so much. We're almost to 50 subscribers, which I don't know. And we're just getting started, so that means a lot. I really appreciate it. And I'm excited to see kind of the fact that y'all are, or to know that y'all are listening to these and watching these, and I hope they're helpful. Let me know in the comments if you like them. Again, what you'd like differently, all that kind of stuff. Very excited today. So last video was about Welcome to the Dollhouse, and which was the one going into Radiance Films in general. I was probably the most pumped about. But now, so we're starting to get into a lot of films that I really don't know too much about. And this was one of them, although I'd heard some really good things. I had never seen a film by the director before, and so this was a really good surprise, and I'm excited to dig into the movie. Of course, what I'm talking about now is the sixth release from Radiance. And this is going to be the last video where I go by release order, because if you look at what they've done so far, the stack is growing, and they're almost spine complete. So the movie today is Spine 10, which is called Fill Her Up with Super. It also has a French title, but I don't want to offend anybody there. I like the French. I don't want them to think I hate them by my pronunciation. So it's Spine 10, Release 6, and it's a road trip movie. So we'll get into a lot more in just a moment, but I do want to celebrate the packaging on this. It's really beautiful. So if you look at, let me take this card out. The card, as always, which is very, very close, if not an exact match to the disc. So well done again. I love that little touch. But yeah, it's a simple design, but I think it actually works really well. I'm a huge fan of this cover. I think it captures the spirit of the film well. Of course, it comes with the reverse slip. One second. So the reverse slip was the original sort of poster for when it came out, which, surprisingly, I'll get into this in just a second, but it actually kind of captures the spirit of the film. This is a sneaky, funny, kind of silly movie, which I wasn't expecting. And then, as always, there's a beautiful book that Fran includes, which in this case, it is 27 pages, and a lot of good writing about the movie and the director, Alain Cavalier, and kind of where he was in French film history. I don't hear about him as much as some of the other folks. So the context around him was nice. Like I said, first movie from Cavalier for me. And what a joy to start with this one. So in terms of supplements, the movie comes with, let's see, interviews with some of the cast members. There's a Charlotte Garçon from the film journal, Cahiers du Cinéma, the one that, Godard used to write for, and Truffaut and all them, kind of where they came from. That journal's still going on. There's an appreciation of the director in the movie from that. Nice booklet, and an interview with the director himself. He still does tours and still is active. There's a Bernard Crombie is one of the ones who talk on here. He's had a pretty long-standing career, so it's fun to listen to his interview. All of the four main characters, I guess, in the movie, there's a legacy interview that they found where they were interviewing all of them with the director. So they came back together in 2011 and did an interview. And I think that's it. But it's yeah, that's it. It goes into. I was just reading quickly on YouTube, which is always exciting for y'all, I know. But it goes into some of the who's there in the essays. But look, just like in the way that Radiance is drawing some attention to Italian comedies, especially in the upcoming months, I don't think that French comedies get a lot of love. in terms of boutique releases. We don't hear a lot about the French comedies. But as you can imagine, just as in any country, right? Comedy sells well, and it sells box office tickets, and it sells. Uh, People get excited to go see comedy. So there's a whole bunch of French comedy, and we don't know if it translates well outside of France. I don't really have a good gauge on that because I just haven't seen a lot of them. The French comedies that I have seen little glimpses of here and there seem very slapsticky and very silly, but I'm not in any position to judge, especially with this one because this is it's a comedy. Like honestly, I want to kind of I want to say this, and I don't mean to be inflammatory at all, but this is sort of like Hangover. Honestly, like Todd Phillips' Hangover. People are going to want to compare it to Two Lane Blacktop, um, which part of me talking about the movie is simply just to kind of humble brag about owning this old Anchor Bay tin. Um, quick side story. There was a keychain in here that came with part of the limited edition, and I used it like a dummy and lost it. So I no longer have the keychain. But this is how these old tins looked if you haven't seen them before. Anchor Bay was the king at limited edition packaging, but different topic for a different day. People want to compare it to Two Lane Blacktop, I think, uh, to make it, it's like a little bit of like an art housey kind of road trip movie, a buddy movie for angsty people, um, and that's fine. I like Two Lane Blacktop. It's a great movie, but that's not this. Filler Up. It's not Filler Up with Super. Honestly, like this is a funny movie. It has heart. I would say where it's not like Hangover is that it's written by an adult. um, and so it has more heart than The Hangover. It doesn't just go for the jokes at all times, right? It's trying to do more than simply tell dick and fart jokes, but it's good. It's really good, and it's very similar. It's very silly. The basic premise of the movie is there's a main character who has to go across country to deliver a car. So he's a car salesman, and he has to go across country. His boss is making him deliver a car to one of their big clients, and his wife, I believe, or fiance, is really mad at him because they had planned to go visit her family, and so he's having to cancel last minute. And apparently, he always does this, right? That whole kind of setup where, like, this is not new for him. He's the she can't trust him, so she goes off by herself, and he goes off by himself. But it's a long trip, so he wants to bring a friend, and that's kind of how the movie starts. They're taking this car across country. Along the way, they meet two hitchhikers, and pick them up. And so then you get to meet these other hitchhikers as well, and the four of them kind of go through problems together on the road and make each other mad, and end up bonding unexpectedly at the end, and kind of forming some lifelong friendships. The highest level, that's the movie, right? But there's a lot in this that I want to get into, and I'm pausing slightly because I want to get into the names of the characters. So the main guy is Daniel. Yeah, thank you, Daniel. So, what I really liked about first of all, I really like this movie a lot, and especially, I think it was a good experience seeing it, but then thinking about it on the back end, I really loved it. And what I liked about it was there's not a ton of movies that I feel as a now 41-year-old man capture sort of the nuances of being an adult man, right? Like in the sense that there's a lot of movies that capture maybe the successful business person or the slacker, or they have, it's very stereotyp like trope driven character building. And there's a few filmmakers that capture kind of being a grown up man well, but not a lot. And this is a rare exception. I think there's four characters in the film. They all get their own storyline of sorts. There's definitely a focus uh, on two of them, but they get their own storyline. Their character, you see them across three dimensions. So you're not looking at none of the characters are very one dimensional or even two dimensional. These are very well written characters that are funny. They're also feeling the pressure of life. They're feeling the pressure of sort of having to live up to expectations of people in their life that they love. And it does it in a way that's not over dramatic. And I think because of the way that the Cavalier mixes in comedy and makes it sort of a comedy first, it allows for those moments of emotion to hit harder. There's some very sweet moments in this movie, very tender, sweet moments in this movie, especially with one of the hitchhikers who they make a slight detour and he go visits his son, and the movie takes a brief sort of detour, just like the characters do, into a side story with the son, and I think that scene, that whole segment, maybe 10 minutes or so, 12 minutes, I don't know something. But that whole segment really captures what I love about the movie so well, because you see them being very childish and destroying the property because the mother of the kid is shacking with a guy they don't like, so they go into this guy's house. I guess it looks like a commune maybe or some temporary housing, I'm not sure, but they go in there and they destroy the room, pee on the bed, like really destroy the room. So you see them at their most childish. Then they bump into those characters, the mother of the son and the new boyfriend, and have to face them before they know that they ruin their room. And then they agree to let them. The mother agrees to let them take the boy, and then the boy goes on a small adventure with them as a group. And in all of this, you just see the full range of emotions. You see them at their most kind of petty and childish, and you see them at their most tender and sweet and loving to the boy. And I think that really captures everything of what I love about the movie. Nobody's perfect. Nobody's written to be better or worse than they are. They're just kind of presented, and you get to see these characters that are very, very human. And for me, when I see that in a movie, like it makes me love them as characters. It makes me really appreciate the work that was done. I think, to be honest, I think Cavalier wrote a quiet masterpiece in that, as far as actually writing characters. And so, yeah, it was a huge surprise. Loved it. I try not. I think I've said this before on here. I try not to say like you have to see it or whatever because everybody's tastes are so different. If you like The Hangover, especially some of the quiet. There's not a lot of quiet moments in that movie. Let's be real, but especially the moments where they kind of are bonding a little bit and have some relatively quiet moments between the characters. I think you'll love this. I think this is also a fantastic example for people that are curious to check out French comedies. Certainly makes me interested to see more, because the humor it's not there. There's two kinds of humor here. There's the physical kind of like gags that they get into, pulling pranks on each other, and then there's also a lot of well-written banter. And you see in the banter, you see them kind of, in the way that the banter goes on, you see some character growth, or I shouldn't say growth, you see the range of the characters. Some of them start off as more serious and stressed out by life, and they can't laugh at the jokes that are in the car. And then over time, those roles switch, and some of the jokers have some real life experiences, and they get more serious, and the other two people loosen up. And so, you kind of see the humor is used in a way to kind of show the way the characters have this full range of emotion. It's done very well, and the jokes are actually pretty funny as well, which always helps. So, yeah, I mean, I think, look, that's it. In terms of what other films that this is like. I mean, it's a unique movie. It's not really like Two Lane Blacktop, although it is on the road, and I think it has good writing that's similar. Um, it's not like a, don't think of like an easy writer or anything like that. I mean, this is it's fully a, I think it stands on its own. Um, but I think it's not an intimidating movie either. It's not an art house film in the sense of there's no pretension in this. This is a very human story that's very sweet and very funny. And I think, yeah, I think if as long as you're okay with a little bit of kind of crass humor, of you can imagine, four guys in the '70s, they're not always super kind towards or super respectful, I should say, towards women. So if that bugs you, maybe stay away. It doesn't dominate the movie, but they're they're dudes in the '70s. They didn't hold back on some of the jokes. Other than that, I would say this is a very accessible comedy that really anybody could watch as long as you're okay with subtitles. Uh, the other thing that I like to do sometimes is, what else is coming out in this case, 1976. Um, I don't want to do it for this one because, I mean, it's interesting, I guess, to see that where this fits in historical context. But this is a little bit different. For I don't want to do that. What I would say is this is a movie that was from a very popular director in France who hasn't maybe had the same household name recognition outside of France. And I think that's a shame. I definitely want to see more from Cavalier, and I'm very excited for Radiance that they identified this, that Fran identified this, and is willing to put it out. So I'll just leave it at that. As far as what's coming next, so like I said, I'm gonna switch from release order to spine order. So I'm very excited because I knew this was coming, but I didn't want to spoil it. Huge Kinji Fukasaku fan. Love the battles without honor and humanity movies. Cops versus thugs. Really, there's a bunch. I haven't seen a movie from Fukasaku that I don't like, including Battle Royale, which is wild. But this one is the first one that Fran is putting out by him, Yakuza Graveyard. So it's Spine 2. So as a reminder, Spine 1 is Working Class Goes to Heaven, Elio Petri, and this is Kinji Fukasaku Spine 2. So that's what I'll be doing next. I'll be moving from release order to spine order. And then after that, Spine 4 is a movie that I don't know too much about, so I'm excited to dig into, which is a film by Luigi Comencini called The Sunday Woman. So those will be the next two coming up. And this is just one thing I wanted to say that was kind of crazy. So Fran announced that by October there's going to be 28 movies from Radiance, and I'm sitting here recording this in June, so I'm going to have to get on these watches and reviews to keep up. Just still a huge fan of the label, and really appreciate everything he's doing. So see y'all next time.